The biggest problem that I see is that once the sale is done, they feel that that's it.
Yeah.
The sale continues after the process.
It does.
Sales is constant. It doesn't end when you sign on the dotted line. It continues.
If you put the right boundaries and then you train your team the right way, you hire right, put the right processes in place, and then train them correctly, your business is going to scale because you've put the right structure around it.
Today, I want to talk about boundaries and some examples of how it made me feel about some appointments that I had and how the opportunity cost of these boundaries that they are placed in some of these businesses and how it can help some of the people. So recently, and this happened to me twice in 1 week. First of all, I got a text message on one appointment that I had, and the appointment was for 10:30 in the morning. Well, I like to be on time. 45 minutes before the appointment, I got a text message letting me know that I had an appointment, how excited they were to see me, and that if I didn't show up, $45 will be charged to my account. I'm like, okay, no problem. I got this. So I went, 10 minutes ahead of time, and it was 30 minutes later, and my appointment, I was sitting there. I was already anxious because I had other things that are happening, right? So the girl tells me, we're clearing up the room, so it'll be just a few more minutes. And I just turned and looked at her and said, 11 o'clock is my hard stop. I was out by 11 o'clock. So that was one. But the one that really ticked me off was the one text message. Every quarter I go to the doctor and, for my wellness. And I got a text message. I book my appointment before I leave. That's my number one thing, because I like to block my calendar right away. I don't have to worry about it. I know that I don't have to schedule any calls or any travel, any of it, right? So here I am. I get this text message that it took me a few days to answer because if I would have answered it at that moment, it would have been not good. So when I finally answered, I said,
what was the text?
Well, the text message was that my appointment needed to be rescheduled for a week before because the clinician wasn't going to be available. That is a VIP thing that I have with this particular clinician. And I was just like, So I fired a text message back and said, you know what? I'm not changing my appointment. You guys need to put somebody else in charge of me. What really ticked me off was the fact that I had to tell them how to communicate and make me feel better. That piece right there was just unacceptable. Has she provided me with the opportunity to give me options? Hey, Madeline, I know that you like this, but unfortunately the doctor or whatever got, an emergency that came out or whatever it is. Okay. I would have probably been more inclined to be a little bit more empathetic, but I wasn't, because I felt that her time was more valuable than mine. And her boundaries were very strong, right? Are you kidding me? You did not look at your calendar, that you have patience? Whatever. So anyways, that made me, as a client, now think about changing clinicians. So that was my experience. And, for those of you that go to the doctor or anywhere that tells you that they're going to give you a cancellation fee, perhaps you should walk around with an invoice of your time also,
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, I remember those experiences because, quite frankly, you came home with it. But I think what you're really talking about on that one is the way they handled it, not understanding the opportunity cost of how they handled it. I always tell people, when things go awry, if that's even a way of saying it anymore, but when things go a little bit off kiltered, how you address it to prevent people from thinking And I tell our staff this all the time. If you give people the time to actually think, meaning you don't have a solution ready for them to go,
Right.
you're giving them time to think about who else can do, I can get this from anybody, right? And that's not the experience that you want to be delivered.
Nope.
So I hear you. And I am the first one to tell people, if you send, I applaud them because we talk about setting those kind of boundaries with clients as well. Hey, if somebody's going to cancel their appointment with less than X or they just skip it, you should have a cancellation fee. But then I also tell people, but you better be prepared to be on time. Because what I will tell them when they do that to me and they say, by the way, just so you know, if you're late or this, we do charge a fee. And I'm saying, great. I give you a 5-minute grace period, and then I give them what my per minute rate is, which is a pretty good per minute rate.
I agree.
And I said, in your 10 minutes, and if you're 10 minutes late, you're going to owe me double what your cancellation fee is going to be because I'm going to retroactive back. I always give them a 5-minute grace period.
Do you get the money? Do you ever get?
I'm very rarely, are they not on time? Or they say, listen, this is what's going on. But I do. I agree with you. Hey, wait a minute. You're the one scheduling. You think about restaurants, right? They have, I get that a reservation, a person that had a reservation, their seating and everything else, they could take a little longer and everything else. That's fine. But don't let me just sit in the bar. Well, that's not the worst thing. But don't let me just sit in the bar without knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Because communication is everything. And to me, I think about this from a business perspective, right? And better than anybody, when we first started our business,
there were no boundaries.
There were no boundaries. It was like, how many clients can I take? What can I do? But we now teach that to our agents. Slow down. Less ultimately is more. And we teach that to our team. And so to me, it's understanding your business to understand where you need to put boundaries. If you have a capacity on volume and activities that you can handle, then you need to understand how to schedule that accordingly, right? It's like we were working with somebody and they want to meet with X number of clients a day. Well, that's great. And then we did the math. How do you do that? And their team actually even said, well, they're always late. Who's always late? Oh, no, the person that you're working with is always late. And I'm like, well, how late? And it can be anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. And I'm like, whoa. Then you don't have a scheduling process, right? So boundary is you have to understand your business and you have to understand what it is in order to give the level of experience that you want your clients to have.
When we first started, right, I didn't have any boundaries. Like you said, I did what I had to do to make things happen. And that is going to happen when you're first opening a business. You want to service, you want to do the right thing. But I really invite you to have the bare minimum of boundaries to help you really do well by your clients. And I don't mean boundaries that are ridiculous and kind of, boundaries that are at the level of you have already built something great. You have to have boundaries with understanding how to communicate with that client. You have to know how they want to be communicated. It's so important. And always put yourself in that client's shoes. How would you like to be treated? What would that look like for you? So ask those internal questions for yourself, even at the beginning stages, because boundaries are important, very important. And, that could look like having a contract that clearly lays out your expectations and how, in order for you to have capacity to continue to grow and be of service to that client, you must have those in place. A conversation, follow up every conversation you have via email after it's done. That's so important because they can never say, you never told me.
Yep.
And it just clears so many issues in the back end. and relationships for that matter.
I totally agree with that. And I think part of that process too, though, is one of the boundaries as your business grows, right? Is moving, and we talk about this a lot in podcasts with clients, just all the time we talk about this, is in order to really get to the grow and scale stage, you have to put boundaries around you. And in order for you to move to the level of person and role you want to play in the business and need to play in the business, that you're able to achieve, to get to that, right? And one of those ways is by when you're hiring, right? You know, we say it a lot as well, hire for culture first. But the job description, and I'm going to get to a couple of different things because this is kind of important. The job description should mirror that expectation that you have for your clients to receive. The standard operating procedures need to mirror and detail out and agree with that level of expectation you want your client to receive. And ultimately, and this is where we're blessed, if you're hiring right, you have the right SOPs in place, and your training is correct. And they, you know, what most people when they're first starting out, they don't realize how much their employees are watching how they're interacting.
Oh, yes.
And if you aren't modeling the right behavior, it doesn't matter what you tell them you want to have achieved, they're going to deliver exactly what they see. And then you run into the bigger roadblock, right? Because now nobody is actually delivering a level of expectation that you said you want your customer or your client to experience. And now you have a real problem because you have no boundaries again. You may start out with the idea of formulating them, but you're not delivering on them, right? And boundaries aren't necessarily always a restrictive. They actually are a proactive measure to make sure you are valuing just what you're talking about with your scenarios. Is somebody was actually saying they were more important than their client. And the reality is you're equally important. They're hiring you for a reason. That's why they're hiring you. And you need them to be a customer or a client because I can't live the life I want to live without them either.
Right.
And if you don't deliver that, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yes. I mean, I go there for the relationship. It's been 5 years, right? So it was actually, it hurt my feelings, and I don't get hurt very easy. I thought it was very disrespectful.
You know, again, I think that we might want to have a little chat with our audiences about that idea of making sure you're investing the time and energy to create the right environment, right? So if you're a brick and mortar and you have a waiting room, right? That waiting room should live up to a level. That's a boundary, right? If you have, if you have a customer experience that is a VIP like you were describing, it needs to be clearly defined.
Yes.
Honestly, that text message is probably more so what set you off versus if I'm a VIP client, you pick up the phone. You have a conversation. Honestly, you should do that with anybody you're rescheduling, but especially if you're calling somebody a VIP. Long-term relationships shouldn't necessarily be treated any better or worse than new relationships. But when you put a moniker like VIP, there's an expectation of what that means.
Yeah, because there's a premium going out the door too.
That's correct.
You know,
And that's why, I don't care what business this is. You see this all the time. Oh, it's a VIP experience. Well, really, what do I get for that extra VIP? Right? Because I'm looking for it. I'd rather just have you tell me it's the experience. Right? Oh, I get it. You want to make more money and you're going to layer things on top of it.
Yeah.
That's great, but that needs to be visible. But you can wreck that. And I'm going to use another example that we've talked about in previous podcasts where we hired somebody and they called it a exclusive, offer for, special clients, VIP clients. It was a lot of money. And after day one, we were already feeling that we weren't getting special treatment. We were getting text messages. Our appointments were getting canceled, right? It's like I said, if you're having them pay up front, there's even more pressure on you to deliver because, when you say you have something, you can't be building it while you're going. You have to have it in order to deliver it. Because you just sold somebody something and their expectation is exactly what it is. You brought up contract. If it's not clearly identified in the contract and you're talking about what you're going to deliver as an experience, now you're leaving it up to ambiguity. And that client or that customer is now looking at you thinking, well, my perception was this. And you have nothing to stand back on.
So true. And everything is okay until somebody gets punched in the face.
That is exactly correct. So I think that, the whole idea of boundaries, people think it's setting it only to protect you. It's actually to protect the client too.
Everyone.
Right. And the client should have boundaries, right? I know for a fact when we do a video conference, one or both of us are on that call 10 minutes before. One, we're in the room just in case they join early. Two, we're ready, right? I mean, and we start on time, right? And if they're not there, I mean, we are following up very quickly. Hey, are you having any issues getting on, right? Because their time is valuable. Our time is valuable. And we need to make sure we get the most out of that window of whatever that block of time we've scheduled with them. I get it. Things do happen.
Oh yeah.
And and the other day we had one of our clients' employees jump on the call and said, hey, this is what's going on. They're going to be here in just a moment. She appreciates your patience and she's apologetic. Okay. I can work with that.
I can work with that too.
Right?
Yeah.
Same thing. If you're running late and you are the provider of the service and you're running late, you need to do something to make sure they understand you value them.
Yes.
Have I ever been late to an appointment? Yes.
Have I missed an appointment? Absolutely.
Right? It happens.
And I gladly will pay the fee.
That's right.
Because that was on me.
That's right.
Right? I own it. But what about when they don't ever own it? And that's a problem.
That's right. Because they're fake boundaries.
Yes.
Right? They're fake boundaries.
Is there such thing?
I don't know. I just made it up. But my point being is that if they don't take it and they don't own it, right? This comes down to the whole thing. No matter who you are, if you're getting paid and you're getting compensated, and especially if you're on commission or if you're selling a service or a product that you get paid up front for, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to deliver.
Agree.
So those are my thoughts on boundaries, but I'm sure we could go a lot further. But I think the most important thing you have to learn from this conversation is boundaries need to be set.
Even in your beginning stages.
In your beginning stages, absolutely. You may not have them set correctly, but as you learn the flows of your business and what the expectations of your clients are, you can build better boundaries. But literally, if you're working with clients and you don't have some form of agreement, then you need to get one. If you're working with contractors and you don't have a terms and service agreement that your expectations and also detailing how you compensate and how you do other things, then you need to start creating that. If you have direct customers and they're coming in and you have on a schedule, then you need to tell them, these are my policies. These are how I manage to it. If I am late, this is what I do. Right. And it doesn't always have to be giving something up. Another example of that was our pest control company.
Oh, yes.
Right. We had specific rules of engagement when we hooked up with them.
Yeah.
And they never documented them. They had them on one side of the note, like, oh yeah, I see that's what you said. Yeah, our schedulers don't know that. I'm like, okay, well, that's a problem, right? So again, communicate to your team, train them based on what you know your people want and your clients expect. And if you put the right boundaries and then you train your team the right way, you hire right, put the right processes in place, and then train them correctly, your business is going to scale because you've put the right structure around it.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that I see is that people, once the sale is done, they feel that that's it.
Yeah.
The sale continues after the process.
It does.
It is a constant, sales is constant. It doesn't end when you sign on the dotted line. It continues.
That's right. And you can go back to one of our previous episodes on that and look on our onboarding experience. But guys, hopefully this has been helpful for you, no matter whether you are just starting your business or you've been in business for 17 years like Madeline and I. Boundaries are important. Structure is and you will do good for your customers and you will continue to grow and keep your revenue going in the right direction if you have that. So until next time,
let's get to work.